Hey guys, what's going on? It is Brianna Southern here, and I'm with Faiyaz.
Hi.
Hi, and I'm so excited because we have some really awesome stuff to talk about today. So Faiyaz, if you don't know him, he is a marketing expert in the San Joaquin Valley and even the Silicon Valley. He's the owner of 4 different companies. He owns Fanverse, Unolution, California Webmakers, and iCode. So he's a really great person to talk to about marketing and social media. And we actually met recently at an event that he put on here at Huddle in downtown Stockton. And I was just I got so much out of the event. You added like so much value to our business and to my, just like keeping on the cutting edge of marketing, and especially in a small town where that's not usually top of mind for a lot of people. And if you don't know me, I've lived in the last 10 years, I've spent in, metropolitan cities throughout the country, and I've had the opportunity to, see firsthand how bigger companies utilize social media and marketing in places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York. And I'm really excited to bring that back to my hometown, Stockton. And so Faiyaz, before we kind of get into your history and how you started all these different businesses, to me that's amazing. First of all, that you've done so many different. There's Fanverse, which is, I know, is a comic book broadcasting, and then the California Webmakers, which is coding, and then you also have Unolution, and you're a marketing expert. So tell me a little bit, how did you get into entrepreneurship, first of all?
Okay, so when I was a child, so I wanted to be a sportsman. I wanted to play cricket, so that is probably one sport you are not too familiar with. But
the little tiny the ball with the net, right?
It's a little like baseball,
Okay.
but a much larger field.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Very boring according to this part of the world. So yeah, when that dream got shattered, I was very clear in my mind that I want to build a company or something like that. I was a child, I was not thinking very, very clearly, but I was sure.
Okay, nice.
So when I was 17, I actually launched my own magazine.
Wow, at 17?
Yeah, I was 17. I dropped out of medical school.
Oh my gosh, wow, okay.
And I launched my own magazine. That did okay. If we compare it to the scale we were trying to take it to. But then there was a long gap because I went back to a business school. Then I went to a business school for a while, and I got, I'd say, distracted for a while from the whole business mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought back into the business arena by one of my friends who was exploring everything about internet. We were in college, so my first business back in 2008 was internet based, and since then I have been stuck in internet and happily stuck. I'd say.
Nice. So that kind of reminds me, it makes me think of Richard Branson, because he was another entrepreneur who kind of dropped out of school, started a magazine, and so he knew early on.
I dropped out of medical school, but I completed the business school.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you kind of knew, medical field was not for you, and then you launched the magazine. What was the magazine about, by the way?
You'd be surprised. It was a lifestyle magazine about mainly fashion.
Oh, that's awesome! I love that. That is right up my alley.
Yeah. Very
cool. So, that must have taken. First of all, it must have taken a lot of courage. So, how did your family feel about this when you were in medical school, and then you're like, I'm going to drop out and start a magazine? They must have. How did they handle it, and how did you know, this is what I have to do, and then get kind of switch gears into business?
You are absolutely right, right? It took some convincing. So first time I told that to my dad, he went crazy.
Wow.
My
I bet.
mom was a little supportive
Mm-hmm.
because she had the habit of like writing and stuff like that. She liked that field. It took me like 15-20 days of constant discussions with my parents. So here is one point I really want to make to any teenage entrepreneur or somebody like that who is watching, because even my business partner right now struggles with this. On Fanverse I have really young co-founders,
Mm-hmm.
because people who are really expert about comic books, superheroes and animes, they're
Yeah.
really young people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so one thing that bothers me is they cannot convince their parents. So here is what I have learned as a businessman. If you cannot convince your family or your really close ones, there is something really wrong about your communication skill.
Ah.
So you should really
Not wrong about the dream.
no, nothing wrong about
Okay.
the dream. But don't think that you cannot communicate with your parents and you will be a master communicator in business.
Oh my gosh, this is hitting home for me right now.
Yeah, because I have like, let's say 50 friends. I know they would actually bypass that. They would say, okay, my parents are the only people who will not understand me. And they try to tell me they can convince another, let's say 1 million people through an ad. I'm sorry, 99% of the time they cannot. Because the people you know most are the easiest to actually convince if you really think about how to convince them. So start from there, you will really get better at marketing.
So, what advice do you have for someone who maybe they're going through that right now and they're trying to convince their loved ones, their parents, family, friends, partners of something that they want to do, and they're being met with a lot of resistance? How would you coach that person on developing their communication skills?
It all depends on the individual. Like if you're talking about myself, if I'm talking about you, so I can tell you my story. So I took a route. So first I made a point to talk to my mom and ask her not to talk to my dad immediately. So I told her why this going to medical school is gonna hold me back in my future, because my dad was making a point, okay, you don't have to be a doctor, like you don't have to practice in future, just get the degree to make me happy and then do whatever you want with your life.
Right.
So that was a trap. I
Right.
know that, my dad knew that, but he was obviously worried about my future.
Mhm.
And I agree how life panned out in next 10 years after that. Definitely there were some points where I would be much secure in my life if had I taken his advice of completing the medical school, because that's like a steady pay or steady job or something like that. You probably enjoy that security. But I made the point to my mom at first that if I'm going to medical school for 5-6 years and I'm not using that, that's a complete waste of time.
That's true. Yeah.
So why don't you talk to him about this first, and then we can like go around like for 15 days. Before I was not gonna give up. So I knew that, but I needed a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So what people expect is somebody goes up to their parents and their expectation is they will understand the child immediately. That is not the case. They're worried about your future. They're worried about your capability of making a right decision.
Mm-hmm.
They worry about you. They care about you.
Right.
So don't treat that as a roadblock for your dreams. Try to use that, like convince them and try to use their energy so that you can achieve your dreams. In my case, that's part of what happened. My dad, once he agreed, even I was 17, he was a very connected man back then. So he actually introduced me to some really, really connected people, which would have been not the case had I like gone all by myself, like, okay, I don't care what you think, I'm gonna drop out, I'm leaving home or something like that. That would be a strategic bad decision. So like weigh your options, things like that, care about it. If somebody is opposing you, it doesn't mean they don't care about you. Maybe they care about you more than most people. So try to use that for your advantage.
So I'm curious, how did your dad finally come around?
He actually gave up, and I was going for that. Yeah, I had that in mind. Like, you cannot make everybody happy on a single day.
Right.
So I can do something for you today. You will probably not actually find it very useful today. But if I know that's gonna really add value to you after 6 months, I should do that. And eventually, when you get that value, you will understand. So my dad later saw I was much happier, like doing not so much studies in a business school and pursuing my dream in business, and it took like 2-3 years, but he was really happy.
So you kind of knew you had to do what would make you happy, and you had to convince these people, like your parents who were closest to you, to get on your side, to get on the same page, or essentially like give up trying to convince you to do something else. Hey Darren, thanks for joining. We're talking about, if you're just tuning in, we are talking about social media for small businesses, and I have Faiyaz here. He's a marketing expert, and he has this incredible journey of how he actually started in medical school and decided to drop out of medical school, start a magazine. Then he ended up going back to business school, and now he is this amazing entrepreneur, has several different businesses, and is making a huge impact here in the San Joaquin County locally. So I kind of want to just like, what do you think is like, how did that experience with your father influence you as a business person? I know you said, it made you realize the value of communication, but what else did you get out of that, and how did it affect you all these years later?
So I'm gonna be very, very frank here.
We like that.
What is a business? So if you want from me very frankly, business is about taking crap. Yeah, okay. It's true. So a businessman's life and entrepreneur's life is crap will happen all day long and you can't complain.
I love that. Yeah.
So there is one point after you take enough crap on yourself, you rise so high and you actually become this happy person. You also start loving that like crap process, like crap coming to me. So yes, this is so true. So I have seen in all my companies, I have been connected with like 15 companies, if not more. The owners or the person who are most responsible for the final outcome of the success or failure of the company, they end up taking most crap. And I'm like making it a point to call it crap. I want to call it something else had I not been on social media. So make no mistake, if you want to be a business person,
be prepared for crap.
Yes, a lot of crap. Like you'll be thinking like, okay, I'm trying to do something good, I'm working hard, my employees have like better lives than me, what's wrong? You have to remember you chose this path. So you have to take that, because your employees do not have the obligation of looking after the company after 5 p.m. But if something goes south at like 2 o'clock in the morning,
yeah,
if you're not responding, you're
gonna pay for it.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna pay for that. So
be prepared for the crap and don't complain. This is like, I'm just like everything that we've been talking about so far has really been hitting home for me, because I work in a family business. My parents have owned a spa here locally for 30 years. And in the last, the last few years, I always knew, like, probably I'd say like 6 years ago that I wanted to help grow the business, but I had to get more work experience on my own, doing other things like social media management and just getting more like real world work experience. And the last year, I've gotten very involved in the business, and that is one area where I have found myself really kind of, acting as like a supporting role, because I find my mom is always, my mom's just like, I have to deal with so much crap, and getting upset about it. And on the one hand, I'm like, I do feel for you, but on the other hand, it's like, this is the path, we chose this path, you chose this path, I'm here with you to support you. We have to how do you support somebody who maybe owns their own business, who's dealing with what you're saying, who's facing like all the crap, who's getting those calls at 2:00 in the morning? I know, Darren, you've had there's been especially here in Stockton where there's crime and stuff, there's like break-ins and, how do you as a business owner, stay motivated to deal with the crap and overcome the crap?
It's all about loving the process of problem solving. So by crap, what we mean is, okay, when you start a business, you think about a product, you think about a company that actually solves some sort of problems people are having, your target audience is having, your target potential buyers are having.
Right.
So you try to solve that problem. So that's crap number one, if we want to put it that way. Then you go to register your company. Government will actually give you more crap. You will ask yourself, what am I going through? I'm trying to create jobs for other people, and they are giving me trouble that most 9-to-5 employees do not have. I'm handing over a check of $10,000 to my employee end of the month, and I'm behind on my rent. So that's often the situation. You will have endless problems. That is the crap. So I'm talking about at one point you'll be really like it is too much. It's dirty. It's painful.
Yeah.
It's too much of a headache. So that's exactly the job description of a business owner.
So what makes it worth it? Why is it worth it? How can you keep going? How do you stay committed?
Because the fruit is so worth it. So when you finally harvest, when you finally have what you want in return. So I wanted to be a businessman because I wanted that kind of creativity. I wanted that kind of safe and secure life for my family. I wanted to provide to so many other people. I'll give you an example. In 2016, I was moving to San Jose for the first time back in after 2013. So I saw this incredible video of a man. So this Indian guy, this Sikh Indian guy from India, he was taking food to the refugees and war-stricken people in Syria, and he had to go through several war zones to get there. So now the point was he could do a charity, raise fund and give somebody that money, but he made it a point to take the food by himself and actually see how that's adding value, making sure he's really doing his job.
Lena Rodriguez, who is another amazing entrepreneur and business owner in Stockton, just wrote, when you feel like quitting, think about why you started, which is just right in line with that story that you're telling us of the Sikh, who was going to deliver food to these war-torn countries.
Think about the whole context. This guy is from India. He is not from the Middle East. This guy is not Muslim. The people suffering there are Muslims, and in the Indian subcontinent, Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs, they do not have a very sweet history to share among themselves.
A lot of conflict there.
India and Pakistan right now is at war, if I'm not wrong. So, but this guy, after doing his business, when he thought about doing some charity, he made sure he was carrying the food to the children. Now, to a normal person, that might sound like a crazy idea. They'll be like, okay, dude, if you can raise like $1 million, why don't you just donate that to some organization? His point was he wanted to see the job through. That is exactly the job description of a businessman.
So that's the mindset to adopt, is that kind of commitment, and to kind of visualizing and seeing in your mind's eye the outcome, and that is kind of what keeps you committed and keeps you dedicated to your mission, right? Is serving those people. In
some way, for business, you want to see some really troubled children smile after they are getting food. It's like that metaphor. So you want to feel something. Okay, you want to sit back and like, okay, I have worked hard and I'm proud of myself. I have made my mom proud. I have done something for my child that he will, even if I die, he will have enough guidelines from my life to follow that he will be proud of.
So leaving a legacy, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a really
Definitely.
compelling reason. And to me, I find, and tell me if this is something that you've encountered too, but I really find that visualization and seeing the end goal in your mind's eye is so important when you're running a business, or even like just doing goal setting, or you have to, because everybody's reason is going to be different. For you it was your family and leaving a legacy. For the man you were talking about in your story, it was seeing the look on those children's faces. And for each individual, for every business owner, every entrepreneur, it's going to be something different. And I think it's so important to like get really crystal clear on what it is that you want to accomplish, who it is that you want to serve, and why.
Definitely. If the cleaner quits tomorrow from your office, you probably have to clean your toilet.
Right.
You do that, and you do that for that day. You visualize what I'm gonna feel when I achieve my dreams. So you take that kind of crap for that day. So you're very, very clear in your mind.
So what advice do you have for, I want to kind of get into the meat here of why we kind of did this live, right? Because what do you think local business owners in a small town can do to compete, to be on that level, to serve at a higher level, and to really grow their businesses? Because you see a lot of small business owners who especially in a smaller town like Stockton or Lodi, Manteca, Modesto, pretty much the Central Valley. It's it's not as big as a metropolitan city, but there's still a lot of innovation. But what advice do you have for those business owners to really grow their business, and what tools can they use?
All right, so we are living in the golden era of marketing and communication.
Yes.
So right now what we are doing, if you had to do this 10 years back, we probably had to spend like $20,000 to organize something like this.
That's incredible to think about.
Yes. So what we're doing right now, it's available to everybody.
Right.
So the problem with small business owners is they are not distributing their time and their effort intelligently enough. So let's, I want them to not think about marketing. I don't even want them to think about their business. So first think about your day.
Okay.
And think about the 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 rule says, so everything you do on a professional level, 20% of it is gonna get you all the success, and the 80% is just sort of like work, you have to support that 20%. So choosing that 20% and focusing on it is really important. So you are doing something very productive right now.
Thank you. I think we
So
are.
yeah, so you chose to do this rather than doing something else for your business. Is you made the right decision. So all day long you have to focus on. Everybody has to focus on doing those stuff that will add most value to you in the shortest time. So let me break it down for everybody a little. I'll take probably 2 minutes, not so long. So your success depends on 25% on hard work, 25% on how you organize things, 25% on your talent for taking the right decisions and not fall for the wrong options, and 25% for I'm really bad at memorizing lists, but I can make it. So yeah, so what's the other thing? Okay, I can come back to that. So if you think you work hard all day and you will achieve the most out of it, you are wrong. When you wake up,
And so many people
yeah,
think that way. So many people, like, I have to just interject here, they think I'm a hard worker, I work hard, that's my identity, work, hard work, and yet, at the end of the day, they're not happy and their business isn't growing the way they want it to. So, that's a great point. Like, it's not just about the hard work.
no, it's 25% to be precise. So you wake up, you make, so that is the organization. So you make a brilliant plan for your day. So when you do that, when you use that 25% to be organized, so now you know,
Okay.
you have weighed your options. You know what will give you most results between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and you have decided, made a plan to do this. Now here's the thing, you might not execute the plan today, but believe me, if you become organized, you do this every day, very soon, before you know, you will start executing those plans. So that's number one. Then you try to take the right decisions, right? For right decisions, maybe you turn to books, you turn to mentors, you start attending events, you start watching videos from really productive and intelligent people. So you are ahead of the game. Now you are trying to take the same decision in a different way, and you are becoming a bigger, like better problem solver. Then you make sure you work hard on your plan for the day, right? I cannot remember the rest of the 25%. I'm really sorry, but I'll get back to that.
I'm wondering, does it have to do with maybe like kind of figuring out like your zone of genius, like operating in the place where you are most effective? Because to me, it sounds like what you're saying has a lot to do with creating the right habits. Because you know that quote, the excellence is a habit. So. And so is failure, you know, so is just like anything that we do, it's not that some people are inherently like better at, you know, being successful than others, it's that they are in those habits. Like
I remember it. I'm sorry to
I knew you
interrupt you. Yeah. The last 25% is your obsession over perfection.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Double checking.
Yeah.
So please do not go and double check everything. You do not need to check if you wore the right pants today 10 times to underline, not that, but things that matter. So your first introduction letter to an investor, check that letter 10 times before sending it out. That's a great habit to have. So this is as important as, remember this is as important as working hard. So your obsession for perfection is as important as working hard. Working hard is 25%. This is also 25%. So this is that important. So if you think really bending your back, working really hard for 8 hours is going to make it, no. You have to grow these 3 habits too.
So when you say, now I want to make kind of a distinction here. So you did say obsession for perfection, and what about perfectionist? Are we talking about like perfectionist? Because there are some people who want things to be perfect so badly that they don't actually get anything done.
No, not really. You have to really think about the item in hand. So if we actually planned for this video going live for like 2 months, that's like a gigantic waste of time.
Right. Yeah.
But if
we planned this like it took like a few in like Facebook Messenger back and forth, and we were like, all right, let's do it. And I think we both we prepped a little bit. We talked about, we said, okay, this is kind of the idea of where we want to go, but we didn't overthink it.
Yes.
But I think we are both obsessed in a sense with our businesses and with growing the businesses, and we can see the value in just talking about these subjects and putting it out there for other people to hopefully get value out of too.
True. So on the contrary, if you were taking a loan from a bank to start a marketing campaign, and that loan is let's say it's a heavy loan for you, use most of your time to get the plan right. Like, be obsessed over perfection for that matter.
Okay, and then it comes back to the other 25% of it, which you said is making the right decisions, choosing the right. So I think those have to go hand in hand.
Exactly.
You can't
so just 25.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I think probably Abraham Lincoln said, if I had to cut a really fat tree in 8 hours or something like that, I would spend 6 hours of that time making my axe sharp. So you have to cut a really difficult tree, and you go bang bang bang, wrong. You're not gonna go anywhere with a bad axe.
And that's kind of like the hard work part of it. If you're just working hard with a dull axe, it's gonna take you forever to chop that tree down.
Exactly. So the more difficult the task, you take more time in planning. If you have the time. Now I understand, business people actually have to take some decisions really fast, on the fly. Things are happening all the time. But when you have the option, when you are making a strategy, making a plan, really be obsessed with it. Is it right? Read 15 books, I don't care, but be sure to get it right. Here is how it actually connects to the small business owner, because often they're operating with small budgets for promotion, for marketing, even no budgets.
Right.
So this is when your sharpening of the axe becomes more important, because you have very limited resources to get a very difficult job done. So you must take care of your tool before you can start it.
And I think that's where social media comes into play, because like you were saying, 10, 20 years ago, it would have cost $20,000 to do something like this, and now it's accessible to everyone. And, social media just has the power to influence far beyond, the limits of your own city. You can reach people all over the globe. And I think that's one of the most important tools that's overlooked by business owners. And then even when they do use it, they're maybe just kind of throwing stuff on a wall to see what sticks. And, not really getting obsessed with, how do I reach people through these channels? So
True. I'll just turn that off. That's my water alarm. If you
to drink water?
Yes, I get
Oh, that's awesome. I am a big fan of drinking water, by the way, staying hydrated, health, and all of that. And I think even for business owners, that's something that is really important too. Always keep your health top of mind, because you got to be healthy to run a business. But anyway, back to what we were talking about with using that tool of social media as a small business to really expand your business. What else can you say about that?
All right. Let's assume you don't have any budget to start with. So you have to look for the tools that can be done without spending money. You can use time as a resource. So Also, but at the same time, you have to remember that the most valuable resource an entrepreneur has is time. So weigh out your options. If you have time, so probably start with Instagram right now. So if you're a local business, if you're looking for customer clients locally, find people. You can do location search on Instagram. So find people. Let's take an example from your business. So is it safe to say that a majority of your customers are females?
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's common sense. So when you go to social media, look for women who could be your potential customers and start your communication. So the easiest and effective way of doing that is you go there and you find people, you find the top post in your local area, and obviously you're looking for females, and go to their Instagram post and you make a comment that really adds value to them. Even if it's a compliment, make sure that it's not generic, it's not very common, it cannot be done by a computer or a bot. It has to be real.
So you're talking about, one thing I want to just point out here too is that it is so important as a business owner to know your target market.
Exactly.
Because if I were to go on Instagram and I just started following a bunch of dudes, that's not really going to bring in a lot of business. Although there are many men who come in, purchase gift certificates for their wives, girlfriends, mothers, sisters, all of that. Our main target audience are women, ages 25 to 55, and I know that. So I think that's ground level, right? Know your audience, and then, like you said, work on building a genuine connection with them through social media.
Exactly. So when they really start to like your comments and everything, they start to find wonder, who is this person, and they check you out. So on a stat level, what happens on Instagram is when you get somebody's attention, they come to your profile. So here is where small businesses actually get their game a lot wrong. The look of your profile is so important on Instagram.
Right, so true.
So the feed defines 50% of the time, is this person is gonna follow you, because nobody is gonna follow a person who is not organized, who is
low quality,
uploading every picture and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mean you cannot have funny photos or something. You can, but data shows the most successful Instagram profiles are those they have a certain theme and a mood going on all over their feed all the time. Because liking your post is one thing, and getting them to follow you is a different thing.
Right.
So getting 10,000 people to follow you back, you have to be cautious about the quality of your feed. So that's here again the obsession over perfection comes. So, and also this is the 20% we talked about when we talked about 20% and 80% rule. So when you don't have a budget and you are starting Instagram, obsess over this, make this part of your 20%.
So this is key. Aesthetics is everything on social media. So you want to do high quality photos, have a mood, have a certain feel, use a color palette. Have some consistency. And Lena chimed in here. She said the first 6 photos they see give them an idea of who you are and what you offer, and that's absolutely true. Those, even the first 6 to 12 on your Instagram. And there's an app that I love. It's called Plan with 2 N's, and I recommend this for all business owners. It is a free app. There are upgraded versions of it that you can pay for, but you can actually plan your Instagram feed with this app, and PLANN, and you can move photos around, see what looks best, because it may seem this busy work or whatever, but like you said, you're not going to get a follow from someone, if they go to your page and it's just a big mess of stuff and nothing is cohesive and it doesn't make any sense.
True, very true. So yeah, start from there, and then there is like if you have time, there are so many other things you can do. So get training or free training on hashtags.
Yeah. There's so much free training out there.
Yeah, on hashtags. How to use your location to your advantage. Should you tag the cities nearby, depending on your business?
Yeah, I like that.
And if you're running a restaurant, so like those all hot, yummy kind of hashtags that people are looking for when they're looking for food on Instagram, like they're really working out an appetite. So many things you can do. Like it's gonna take probably like some time, 2-3 hours if we're gonna break it down. We can do it like if we have a session, if the audience wants it, if they want a session dedicated for Instagram or Facebook ads or how to get started, I'd be happy to do that. Just shoot me a DM.
Absolutely. So I feel like we've just covered so much today. So how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to follow you? What's the best way to find you? And if they want some one-on-one social media coaching, web development, something, if they want to upgrade their website, how do they reach you?
All right. So you can just send me a DM on Facebook.
And I've tagged you in this post, by the way.
On this post. And then I have my kind of, I'm a father. I have a 3.5-year-old. So I have this social media presence of a businessman plus father. So my handle is called Born Dad. The Born is from the Born movies.
Nice.
Yeah. From Matt Damon, so
maybe after we post this, you can comment on there with a link to your Instagram too, so that definitely. People can follow you, because I think in our community especially, it is so important. What we've just gone over today is like huge. It's for you and I. This is something that we're passionate about and we love anyway. But for a lot of people. In our, a smaller town, they don't realize the incredible free tools right at their fingertips. And, social media is a huge one. So, you guys, is there anything else you want to, maybe before we close it out, I would love to know, one thing, like what are three habits that keep you inspired? What is something that you do? What are a couple of things that you do every day? 3 things that you do every day to stay inspired, stay motivated, stay committed.
Now for me, it's not gonna help anybody else, but for me,
it's for you.
Spending time with my son. Number 2 is spending time with my son. Number 3 is also spending time with my son. That gets me going. That's the whole point of doing everything I do.
I love that.
So. But it's not going to work out for everybody.
Yeah, but it's about you.
My message would be very brutally honest with yourself. So that's the key. I always knew that I'm not the hardest worker in the room. So if I tried to be, I would have been a complete failure compared to what I am today. So I recognized myself before doing anything else. So you might find some things about you that you might not like, but embrace them. That makes who you are. So do not actually try to avoid them.
But acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it and try to use it for your advantage. So if you're somebody like me who doesn't like working that hard or something like that, find a way to work smart or get a difficult job done in 2 hours or something like that. So
I love it. So relationships, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
I like that.
Something like that.
I love it.
Stay hydrated. Put
Stay hydrated.
a water alarm.
Yes. And drink lots of water.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Faiyaz. I really appreciate this, and I hope you guys got a lot out of this. And leave a comment below if you have any other questions you want to reach Faiyaz. And make sure you tune in next time. Thanks so much.